Here's the Stinky Popcorn Boys.
We watch movies and eat popcorn. And are stinky.
Hello. We are the Stinky Popcorn Boys. Just some boys talking about movies and how they made us feel. I am Patrick Basketball, and I want to see Mobius strip.
And I'm John Gilardi, and I get plenty of brain freezes, and my memories don't freeze, so Sylvia was lying. She had me for a second there. She had me in the first half, but...
Yeah, they had us in the first half, not going to lie.
Is that real? Is that a real thing?
I don't think that's a real thing. That's a manipulation, bud. She's a manipulator. That's what she do.
Well...
That's not a real thing.
What are we doing
So what
today?
are we talking about today?
Oh.
You guys figured it out? You guys clicked on it? You know the thing? Today, we're going to be talking about the clear crown jewel of the Marvel TV kingdom, at least by my reckoning. The oldest British Tom on their roster of no names. It's definitely the best Marvel TV show up to this point. The rare media property that doesn't give away all of its cool moments in the trailer. Loki.
Yeah. The TV show Loki. I don't know where to start.
The TV show Loki.
I mean, the synopsis, I guess I'll jump in, is we have Endgame, you know, they kind of multiverse travel / time travel, and there's an incident where the Tesseract lands at the feet of this version of Loki during the Battle of New York from the Avengers movie. And the Loki takes it and disappears with it, you know, mischief and all, and it creates a break in the reality, like a time break. And so it becomes a variant, and he gets taken into time jail, and he gets taken to the time TVA, the Time Variance Authority. And they're like, hey, you got powers. There's a lot of Lokis out here. Or no, there's not even, I don't even think we know it's a Loki, but there's a bad guy out here. We need your help to catch him. And so
they would do by the end of the first episode, because Owen Wilson's like, yeah, because it's you. It's another Loki. I guess there's a question is like, I think that this is like sort of like a quantum question or some sort of like physics question where it's like, is time travel possible? And also, did they time travel in Endgame, or did they just switch to a different multiverse? And because is it time travel, I guess?
My understanding is if it's ever possible, it would be parallel universes at the current time. You know, as the idea that time's linear.
Yeah.
But I think the concept of time traveling and universe hopping or multiverse hopping, I mean, this is not really any of this is possible.
Let's talk about the MCU and this stuff real quick.
Yeah, I thought you were asking.
We can. No. I was literally just thinking about it as you were describing it, especially because as we're getting into all this like, you know, multiversal shit. Which is like just a really fun, brilliant way that the MCU can now do whatever the fuck it wants.
Yeah.
Like, they can get away from there. They can go and do more solo movies and then, like, bring them all together for an Avenger movies, but they don't necessarily, like, it's like, yeah, well, you know what? Different universe. Different multiverse. Don't fucking ask where Hulk is during this. Don't ask where Iron Man is during this. Because different multiverse, okay? Get off our back. Shut up.
I think what's so cool about this is it's like our heroes, you know, were the heroes. Because there was the one true timeline. There's many timelines, but they're all very much kept on track by this TVA. But it's a fun concept that there essentially was no multiverse. There was, but all the parallel universes were pretty much the same. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like a meta way of like saying exactly what you said. Like, okay, we're opening it up now, and I think that's maybe what this symbolically is, because at least for this maybe big story arch, you're gonna have tons of different multiverse with the multiverse war and a bunch of different versions of things, and maybe they'll hop over to I don't know, a Iron Man that I don't know, just a different version of Iron Man.
Tom Cruise. Is it Tom Cruise Iron Man?
Yeah, and then he comes into a movie. He comes into one universe or whatever. Like they all combine, or maybe there's an army of Iron Mans at one point. I don't know. It's whatever. So it's introducing a lot of fun stuff and a lot of stories that can maybe in movies that can exist in different universes that we don't know, or maybe it's kind of subtly touched on. Who knows? But I think it introduces a lot of fun stuff.
And I think it's an interesting thing because they set it up in Far From Home, like very, very briefly as a throwaway joke, like that Quentin Beck was, like, it's definitely kind of one of the things where it's like, he's like, oh yeah, I'm from a different multiverse. Or I'm from a parallel dimension. I'm from a different universe. And I tracked these things, that was like the Far From Home plot. And then it's like where he's like, oh, that was real? Oh shit. I thought that was some crazy bullshit. I was just pulling out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, that was real. And I think that sort of like, it could very well be that, this sort of like current story arc was like in the midst of the Sony Marvel like battle for Spider-Man, that they were like, well, what are we going to do if we don't have Spider-Man anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to do? And like they were fucking stressing about it. They were like having a bad time. And then all of a sudden someone's like, well, wait a second. What about this multiverse stuff? What if he gets lost in the Sony multiverse and he gets like, that's like a different, because they're doing their other Spider-Man stuff, and that's like a different.
They got Venom
universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows if it transcends into that? I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe what I think you were going to say was it was going to be like a safety for if something weird happens, like they lose Spider-Man, they can do other weird workaround stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Is like it started as a safety, but then it like ballooned, and they were like, "Hey, actually, this is a really fucking cool idea."
Yeah.
And it's like a safety if we lose one of these big characters that they can then jump back in, like if they get lost or whatever, and then we can like we can be flexible for all the business stuff because that's all this that's all this is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's
just a vehicle to make money.
Yeah. But I mean, and we could talk about this as the fucking fall off of Black Widow's box office and how that's making people nervous. But before we get into any of that stuff, and we talk about maybe how time isn't real, it's a construct that it really has to do with gravity and how things are perceived, and there is no actual measurement of time other than what we give it. We don't want to go too far too fast. We're not physicists here.
We can try to be.
But how did this show make you feel? How did Loki make you feel?
I liked it. I love alternate universe stuff. I love multiverse stuff. I love it. It was up my alley. I like Rick and Morty. I used to read alternate history books all the time as a kid in middle school through high school. Never gone back in. I actually read an awesome novel that I had no idea what it was. It was off a recommendation, and it was right up my alley. It's called Dark Matter. I'd actually really recommend you to read it or listen to it, Patrick.
Dark Matter?
Yeah. Super fuck. I just love this kind of stuff. Like, this is candy to me. And to quote the great Elon Musk, he said, Loki is good. It's like Rick and Morty live action with a love story. But that more just touches on what I'm saying. Just like, I love this kind of stuff. It's fascinating to me, like the infinite possibilities and how they play out, or even just the time travel. Because I don't know. I love history, and I love as I get older, I love seeing just how people live their lives and the settings and the marketing or the whatever. So it sets that up. Even like the Lamentus, just seeing life there, it's just really cool. even though it's a completely fictional thing. So I enjoyed it. There's so much going for it for me. The concept, the fun settings, being in Pompeii before it blows up, stuff like that. And then the art, just the sets were awesome. The costumes were awesome. The TVA area was so cool. I loved that.
I loved it.
That's a hotel in Georgia, actually, so you can go there if you want, or in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh.
And I loved what Owen Wilson said he's like, yeah, there's like a period. I don't remember what Loki said. It was like, why does everything look like this? And why'd you guys decorate like this? And he's like, there's a perfect time in the 90s where everything came together, where form and function were just perfect. And so like, it was like super expositional explained why it looked the way it did, but it was so good because I loved it because it looked great. I mean, the show isn't perfect.
It's got good design,
but
except for
got so much.
The only thing, sorry, I was talking over you.
You're good. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it is kind of funny, and I've said this before, I think, and maybe I've said this before about various things, but it's like, of all the TVA. It's like, of all there's only humans there. It seems like there's only humans there. Humans of all races and of all kinds, but there's only humans there. And it's not very inclusive of the imaginary alien races that there could be out there. Especially if we're spanning across all of time, and all of the different variations of intelligent life that there could or would be. It's like, there's going to be some aliens. There's going to be some fucking squid people.
Are you questioning why there aren't?
Yeah, I'm questioning why there aren't. That's my biggest drawback.
Yeah, I mean,
and I know
because like one of the
reason.
Spoilers, obviously we've already gone there, but one of the timekeepers, or two of them were alien looking. So they did that there, even though, I mean, obviously they were fake. But
yeah.
I do agree, and maybe humans are just a good candidate as variants to pull. Maybe I don't know.
And I guess the explanation is it goes further back into stuff where it's like Marvel-y lore, where so Kang or He Who Remains, which is I think this is He Who Remains or Immortus or whatever, is apparently Nathaniel Richards. Like the descendant of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. So
who are they?
Like, because he's from
Fantastic. Wait, Reed.
Yeah, that's Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman.
Ah.
So that's who Nathaniel Richards, like, not parents, but like that's who his ancestors are or whatever. Because he's from the 31st century on Earth.
Yep.
So it would make sense that he would pull humans, like, I guess as his like safety net or whatever. But also, it just is. It's fine. I understand why. I'm not like complaining about it, like in a real way. But it is just funny where it's like, yeah, I know you don't want to put somebody in makeup for them to be in the background of a thing for like that and spending the money. It's not that big of a deal. But it is just wanted to point it out.
Yeah. I mean, even like the Lamentis place, it's all humans. I think maybe it's where they saved money. Just an easy place for them to save money in this show.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like the simplest answer, and it's also like, what do you care?
Yeah, it didn't bother me. Which normally
it doesn't
kind of
really
would,
bother me, but it is just like, it's just, and I know too that it's like there's so many. It's like, well, how are you going to agree on what the aliens like? It creates so much extra work because you have to have somebody who can visualize the aliens, then you have someone who can construct them. Then you have someone to put them on people, instead of just costuming people to look different.
No monsters in this one either, if I'm recalling right.
The monster is time.
Yeah. I think that's why maybe this movie is able to I mean, Falcon Winter Soldier didn't have monsters or aliens. I don't know. Obviously, this is where they put their money. I'd be curious to see how the budgets stack up per show.
Yeah.
But
And that's what I was saying is like this definitely felt like again, like I said, it's like this feels like the best of all of them. And I think we talked about this a little bit last week when we talked about Black Widow, where it's like, you know, there's the level how COVID affected them, where it's like maybe Falcon and Winter Soldier was the most affected.
yeah,
This one was, they were able to adjust the most off of this one. And then like, because I think the finale of WandaVision was maybe the most that one was affected by, because they were going to like shoot extra stuff and they were going to do extra things and have this whole like big kind of like final or battle. But then they just kind of were like, we're just going to do this.
yeah. There's like huge swaths just missing from that. Like I forgot Monica, I think her name is, like her hero moment, stopping bullets for the kids or something.
Oh yeah.
Instead, she had like, it was supposed to be a lot more. It's just like, damn.
Yeah.
Is it completely?
She was supposed to have a lot more.
Yeah. You're gonna make me yawn.
Sorry, bud.
All right.
Oh gosh.
So what do you think of this Loki? Because this is not the Loki you really spend a little bit more time with. Arguably, you spend a lot of time with this Loki as the villain and as the villain in Avengers and in the first Thor. So you do get a decent time getting to know him there. But that's this Loki. Obviously, I think a lot of you know this, but for those that need a reminder, there's that. Like, this isn't the one that sacrificed himself, you know. And
this isn't the one that sacrificed himself both in Thor: The Dark World and eventually to be redacted as he was doing a trick. But then also in Infinity War, he came together and did some like not Infinity War, in Ragnarok, he came together and did some hardcore work. And then in Infinity War, he sacrificed himself. And like they had big moments, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
But this one is a brand new one. And it was interesting to kind of realize that this was a younger Loki, I guess. You know, this is a Loki who had less living.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Can a god be younger?
He saw his experiences on a screen. He got to see that.
Yeah.
Which is always funny to me when in movies and shows and stuff, or video games do it too, when the first time you see it or whatever, it's the camera, you know, it's whatever. You don't think about it, right? It's just the way the shot was shot and you're taking it. But then like when it's called back to, and like, I don't know, like Iron Man's looking at data packages on these characters and he's seeing the same cinematic cuts and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And
that's always funny to me whenever like thinking about that. It's like, how did they get that angle?
yeah, like who's there?
You know?
I think like,
what kind of camera are they shooting this with, dude?
Shazam, and I think the beginning of the original cut of the Justice League they have like someone's filming it with a phone or doing a live, and I think that works.
Yeah,
or at least like fudging that. Yeah, you're gonna have to like, obviously it's way fucking cheaper just to take a shot you did, put a little filter over to it looks like the hologram, whatever. Way cheaper.
Yeah, so that it's TV footage or whatever.
But you know, filming something new or making it look like someone shot it, you know, or I mean, honestly, it doesn't have to be. It can be just like a little phone camera shot and you just see a man flying through the sky. Like, that can't be that much more expensive. Honestly, that's probably negligent in terms of just the simple effects, you know, in After Effects.
Yeah, but why would you not just use that? I mean, but if it is something like the Hulk, you're just going to use, because then you'd have to, you know, render that guy there. Whereas like if you have the Hulk, you can just render him.
Yeah.
Wherever he is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm making it's hard to make a case for why not. Like,
but it is funny that it happens, and it feels like in general the industry's like, hey, fuck it, you get it.
Yeah. Which I guess I bring that up because that Loki, he watches his life through the same cinematic angles and stuff that we saw.
Yeah.
Man,
Which I guess, if
Imagine
that's how the TVA has it, how did the TV, like, it's not like, those are like sort of memories. Those are glimpses. So why wouldn't they have sort of a cinematic version of it,
I mean, they might as well. And there's a million variations, so maybe they snuck in some nano cameras or something. Or maybe there's some weird meta thing where we are the TVA or something. Like the movies are some meta lens of the TVA.
Oh, we're the Time Variance Authority.
I don't know.
That's us. Yeah, that is it. I definitely know what you're talking about. I think it's the most jarring whenever it's like the news footage or like even like the Tony Stark thing where it's like, okay, yeah, I guess we're just gonna do it this way rather than like, the like news footage thing.
It's true. Like the TVA thing has that. I guess it has. You can fudge it as they're all powerful and infinite, timeless possibilities. So like, does time not pass for where
in the TVA?
Yeah, in the TVA and where he who remains is. Like, is that?
Well,
but time does pass because he's like, we've passed the threshold.
Well, it's probably. I mean, that's a complicated question because it's like, yeah, it does. It probably does pass. But it's also probably in stasis.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's confusing.
Because it definitely passes even where but he remains is at the end of time.
Well, okay, here's what I'll say. Again, that time is a construct. And so it's like the synapses are firing, but there's no degradation. So it's like if you get to the TVA, there's no degradation because it's not that there's no gravity, but gravity is the thing that dilates and focuses time.
Is that a thing?
Because there's places, yeah, because that's time passes slower in places where there's less gravity, or the effect of time is lessened in places with. And again, I could be
is this interstellar
this
science
somewhat.
It's Chris Nolan in your corner making you say this.
Yeah, no, he's not here at all. Keep going. No, but that's why there's the theory of relativity. So there's something with that, and again, not a physicist, but that's what it's the gravity, the gravitational pull is what dilates and stretches the effects of what we perceive of as time. Jesus, it sounds fucking.
like a stoner
in the TVA,
just going off on metaphysics.
Yeah. So the TVA is in a weird space, sort of like a liminal space of existence and non-existence as they travel along the sacred timeline. That's where he's like, oh, we've crossed the threshold, is whenever there's been a shift in whatever the thing is. Whatever the thing that I'm sure will be explained or not explained, and they'll be like, hey, fucking figure it out or don't. It doesn't actually matter. Are you want to see fucking She-Hulk fight Lady Venom or Venom? Then shut up.
Yeah, that's the curious thing is, like, will they write this or will they find a way to keep it or like find a way to exist or whatever? That would be my guess because it gives them ultimate flexibility. Or maybe they just keep this flexibility for one arc of 20 movies or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's a question we could get into is like, it's almost weird because this show compared to Black Widow even, it shows like a wide gap, you know? And I was like, this made me optimistic, but at the same time sort of like made me nervous for the varied levels of quality of both the TV shows and then like the movies as well, where it's like Black Widow felt very like disconnected in a weird way, as much as it was connected, but it felt, I don't know. And maybe I just like this like cosmic metaphysical shit anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's
so
very
like
different.
Obviously,
I mean,
but it's also, it feels like the writing is better in this. The acting is better. Like I don't know. Maybe it's just like the lightness.
yeah, I mean, lightness as in like the sense of humor or like the palette.
I guess. No, not the palette.
Well, like I guess you're right with the range. Like it does have very dark moments, but it has a lot of it is very contrasting. Yeah, but I think where that comes from maybe it's the multiverse stuff, where the stakes are always kind of like fluffed or cheated a bit. You know, like you can have like super dire circumstances, like they're gone, they're done on this planet, they're gonna die, and then they had a love spark, and then that gets like a variation, they get taken out. You know. So I think it has those things going for it. And I think Black Widow had plenty of humor and levity to it. I think the setting was dark with like the kidnapped girl warriors that they like kill off or something. I think the issues there didn't commit to it. So I don't know. I
think what I meant when I said light, I meant like it's like this carried weight. Like the conversations that they have with Kang or He Who Remains, they carry weight.
Yeah.
And even the conversation that again, I would just take it right back to Winter Soldier. It's like the conversation that they had with Pierce, that Black Widow had with Pierce, or the various conversations that Steve Miller Band? Steve Rogers, Steve Miller Band, Captain America, Steve Miller. But like the conversations that they had with Alexander Pierce, especially at like the end of the climax of the movie, was had so much more weight than the conversation between Natasha and Dreykov. And I don't know what that was, or if that was just a personal thing. Very much could just be a personal thing where I just don't feel like it was. I think I touched really on it jarring.
I mean, obviously weight, the history, the emotional impact is one thing, but I wonder if part of it is if we're conditioned with these movies that everything has to be interconnected, and that's a factor of weight that we attribute to it.
I just honestly don't think that we emotionally got to where we needed to get in that Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
And we did here.
But it's like she realized she had a family she didn't hate, I guess. But like there wasn't like a turning point moment, Like they were together, it was an awkward dinner at Rachel Weisz's house. People were on the perimeter, and Natasha and her mom switch, and then they break out together, and that's it. There's no coming of age turning point moment for this family. It's just, I don't know.
And I feel like that's one of the things too that was robbed from it was seeing the decision between, and it was a little, it was there, but it was like too subtle. Rachel Weisz's decision to help her daughter.
Yeah. It's only there in the hindsight, which just takes away from that moment originally.
Yeah.
And even then, there's not enough history built up between them, or that payoff's there. I think there's more history and build up with the sisters, and they're obviously kind of on decent terms the whole time, besides like they're just like bickering.
I don't know. I just like, that's one of the things is like, it doesn't necessarily, it makes me I just wonder how long. I mean, you got to prune some branches eventually from any tree, but it's like how long can Marvel continue to grow? Because and that's why I touched on a little bit earlier, where it's like the Black Widow box office hasn't performed the way that they wanted it to, and
well, do those numbers factor in the home premiere?
Well, they did for the first week. They were like, oh yes, they factored in those numbers, and then they stopped sharing the numbers
because
it probably. I mean, I guess the assumption is that why would you share numbers that were bad? You would only share numbers that were good.
Yeah.
That would so.
Huh.
I guess the assumption is that they were bad numbers, and that's why they weren't shared.
Yeah.
So, I think it dropped something like 70% or something like that in its second weekend domestically, and it's not performing that well worldwide either. So it's like, I think that they're like, wait, why? We finally gave you a Black Widow movie, and I was like, it was good, but I don't think it was as good as we wanted it to be.
Yeah,
and I haven't really seen anything to like justify me having that opinion, but it's just like, for me watching it, it was fine, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be.
I mean, I had no expectations, so I mean, I was good. I mean, was that a thing? People were just hoping for one,
Yeah, well, and it also feels like a little bit too late for the Black Widow.
Yeah, again,
no offense, Scarlett. I definitely think that she deserved a movie, but it's like we all saw her die.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how much of this we talked about last time, but it's a weird timing. Where this movie is perfect. This is probably the most set up for the overall direction of the whole story of the franchise. Yeah, because Spider-Man was kind of an epilogue, even though it was the first one, and then Falcon Soldier just introduced characters.
I think officially, the Spider-Man was the epilogue.
So it was part of the last phase? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, either way. So, like, Falcon and Winter Soldier was just set up a new character, and Wanda just set up her new direction. But, like, this sets up the world. This sets up the stakes, I think, which is cool that it does it so early. And you see essentially a form of the villain early, too, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I think it'll give us a fun, build-up, and a lot of interaction with him. And
it's a really cool dynamic to have their major villain killed so early. But then, because of what it is, because of the multiversal stuff, that it's like, no, this isn't the worst version of me. I'm actually kind of a good guy.
Yeah. He's like, can you imagine the other versions if you think I'm bad? I think is what he says.
Yeah.
I mean,
he says that.
The crazy thing of the finale is it's essentially all just exposition and talking, which is awesome. I love that.
It's such a.
I didn't.
Well, I'm so glad we get to sit in those scenes.
Yeah, I saw some reviewer said that it's just like you let things breathe, you let people react to like you can let the actors do things, like you can feel it, and that's the big strength in it, in that you get to know the characters well, and you're able to this Loki better. Because the other Loki is a punching bag, he's a butt of jokes, he's always a piece of shit, and then all of a sudden he kind of flips like here and there when you need him. Like this is like this just has way more screen time, so by naturally, that's a thing. But it's made in such a way where you live on these things and where you see these people act, and I think it's a huge strength of this show, and I hope that's something that a lot more of these shows carry over.
Well, and you can only do that whenever, like, I don't know. It's like this only gets to happen whenever you have the fantastic actors of Jonathan Majors, who plays He Who Remains, who I'm very excited about. He makes some really fucking cool choices, and it's like I loved him in he was one of my favorite parts in the Spike Lee movie. I can't remember what it's called because I didn't really like the movie.
Five Bloods.
The Five Bloods, yeah.
I forgot he was in that.
And then, yeah, he's the young son.
Yeah.
And then also in Lovecraft Country, I love seeing him do his stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting to get him to see him get to play a role like this. It was just like, And then Tom, it was just so good to see this growth and development from a pair of characters, really. Really, every single character on the show, Judge Renfield or whatever her name is, Mobius, they all go through such cool fucking journeys.
Yeah.
Where they're realizing things about themselves. And again, it's set up for it where everybody's a lie, essentially, or a liar in Loki and Sylvie. And it's like, damn, guys, you guys did some great stuff. And it's like, I think that they definitely, and again, I'll go back to WandaVision, where it's like, they didn't let her go full villain.
Yeah.
Loki is allowed to go from full villain and murdering people and having Nazi, this Loki literally was just in Germany being like, I should be the new, again, I should be like the new Hitler.
Or like pulling out the eye.
That's where this Loki was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just pulling some dark shit.
He was a bad guy. And now he's allowed to come back and be the hero. And we're like, hell yeah. But why isn't fucking Wanda allowed to go? Again, have your limits, but it's like, they were like, no, she needs to be the hero. And it's like, they should have let her be a villain more, I think. Well, because that's more interesting. It's more fun.
She will be the villain in the next movie, right? Or no, the next Doctor Strange, I believe. Yeah, that's what they're soft setting it up for that. But I think that she's going to be, it's going to be bullshit where they don't go all the way and they don't have her be the full villain that she needs to be. Again, like they did in WandaVision. I hope so. And who knows? Maybe they do to write her off. Maybe she. I don't know. But now that she's getting more time in her own show, I doubt that she's ready to go.
Yeah. I don't know. And I also wonder too. It's like at some point they've got to do have a Winter Soldier thing, because that movie was so good and brought in the Shield Hydra stuff, the ground level stuff, really well.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now, between, if the four properties that we've got to go off with the MCU, we've got WandaVision and Loki. We're doing multi-dimensional, metaphysical shit. Great stuff. Very good. Fun, cool guy stuff. And then we've got Falcon Soldier. We've got Falcon Soldier and Captain America and Black Widow. And I would say of the four, those are the two weaker ones. And it's those are the ones that we've had our ground level threat, our ground level big bad or whatever in Valentina established.
Yeah. Which is something they're obviously trying to push. So they gotta get that stuff together.
It just doesn't feel like it's been done right. It doesn't. Honestly, I don't care about this yet. And I want that same, because that's how I felt about Captain America and that whole stuff there, where it was until Winter Soldier, I was I don't really care about this stuff. And then Winter Soldier was hey, this can be fucking cool. And I was okay, this can be fucking cool.
I think
it feels like it's going to be overloaded.
A lot of that played with history, old Soviet stuff, or there's elements there, which I think it makes it fun, because that's when your imagination takes off, is that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Black Widow had enough of that, just in the nostalgic sense, them being Russian, the early or the late 80s throwback scene at the beginning. Obviously, I'm not saying that fixed that problem that you're having, but I think that stuff helped. But then you just have, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. just in like vague contemporary Europe and not great villains, and it's just weird. Just weird. Obviously has an issues due to COVID. So it's like, I think those older ones worked because they had those familiar things. Like they were grounded in the sense that there wasn't metaphysical stuff or like laser powers or whatever, but it was a fantasy of a version of the world, or a fantasy on past events, Captain America, World War II, going weird and crazy. Winter Soldier, a lot of Soviet stuff. And then, Winter Soldier, I'm right. And obviously Civil War is just, it's a whole different thing because it's just pulling everyone together.
It's Avengers 2.5.
Yeah. So that stuff worked then, but like, I don't know what they're going to have to do with particularly the Valentina storyline and the Falcon, or however they set up the Falcon, like it's almost like that kind of setting would do better in the DC grungier tone and stuff. Like I think it's the Marvel tone and stuff just works better with the goofy shit.
They've done it well. Like in the past, like Civil War, like that sort of like low-key political stuff, like they've done it well where it's fun and good, like the what am I saying? Like again, like fucking Winter Soldier, Civil War, even any of the like the pre-Thanos Iron Mans. Like those were all little things, and I don't know. They've got like a balance. It's weird because they've got a balance of very old characters, and they're like kind of like finishing up with Thor or whatever they're going to do with Thor, and then they've got all these old characters where we're essentially following through the same through line that we have from the very beginning with this sort of multiversal thing. And then they've also got very new characters and new political strife and things where I don't care yet, and not in like a dismissive way. I just don't.
The whole blipping in thing,
they haven't done it well.
It's so interesting, and I think they always explore it in such a boring way.
Yeah.
Particularly Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's so boring.
I think they did it best in WandaVision so far.
Yeah. And Spider-Man had some good beats on it. Comedic beats too, and addressed it.
But for the most part, they just kind of like played through it.
Yeah, it wasn't like a theming, like, because like you have to have a backdrop, and there's so many things you could have. Essentially Civil War's driving thing was like the superheroes are unchecked, like they're causing damage, and who's covering it, and I think that can still be explored. There's still going to be animosity in an anti-superhero thing. That's something that they can really play out, or like the boys from the perspective of the heroes instead of the boys, even though in the show, The Boys, you get both perspective, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That you, which I guess Falcon and Winter Soldier plays with that, but they're mutants too. I don't know. I don't know where they can take like the everyday regular stuff, and like I don't have a depth of knowledge of Marvel stories, so I can't say what there is to pull from. But they do need to pick something up because there are a lot of people bored of it, and
I mean, especially
any James Bond
again,
or
it's just like
Bourne movie is way better than these like spy thrillers.
But they haven't been spy thrillers because it's again, like I said, it's like the Taskmaster, if it's a spy thriller, is not going to take a tank through the fucking city. Like, I think that was one of the things that was interesting about both Civil War and Winter Soldier, where it was like the stakes felt very spy-like, where it was like we're trying to be low key, we're trying to be undercover and do stuff, and then even when they have that big chase, in Civil War,
there's consequences.
Who fucking catches up with them? There's consequences of it.
Yeah,
Their actions need to have consequences, But like in this, they just like fuck off. You know, in Black Widow, they just fuck off. And I think that's one of the things. And in Falcon and Winter Soldier, they just like fuck off for the most part. And it's like, I don't know, they botched the fucking rebel villain hero in Carly, and they almost like, and I think it was just like by sheer like almost Wyatt Russell did such a good job of making us care about that character that we also wanted to hate, but then also cared about. Like, again, I can't talk about how uneven the Winter Soldier, like the Falcon and Winter Soldier show was enough. Especially when compared to Loki, which is very even. They let stuff breathe. Like, there's none of those. And again, it's probably just a COVID thing, and I'm just fucking blasting them for trying to get something done.
Well, it takes advantage of the format that television gives us. You know, it is like it's letting us hang out on those moments. It's, you know, I don't know.
It felt very linear. It felt like a fucking 6-hour movie, you know, where we get to go and each step follows logically the next step. Whereas like Falcon and Winter Soldier was all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to get Sam his fucking due, because that scene still hit. Like with him coming in and being like, I'm Captain America. It still fucking hit so good. And I wanted him to have better. Yeah.
Well, I think,
you know,
and I think he'll get that through movie, which should be good. I mean, and you know, the TV show aside, the Captain America movies are some of the strongest ones, the ones that you were particularly pointing out. So maybe like this, by extension, is going to be in a Captain America movie, obviously. So maybe that carries over. Maybe they figure that out. Maybe they put the same resource. I don't know. So,
but now I'm also worried about that they're overstretching it, because they're going to have fucking U.S. Agent in it, the new Black Widow, they'll have the new Hawkeye, they'll have the new Captain America, and the new like low villain in Valentina, and then they'll also have, it'll just be like they're just gonna have it loaded up.
Yeah. And they're stacking the cards of new characters fast, because like at least with the first the last phase, or I mean I know there's many phases, but the last big arch or whatever they call it, like it started off with just superhero movies each, you know, and so you really got to like breathe into it. And like the most that they did side characters was like Natasha as this like very much on the side, or like Hawkeye barely in Thor. So, but in this, you know, you get 1,000,001 characters introduced. You got White Vision, you have her kids who are probably going to come back in some form. You have Monica. Probably forget it. You have Agatha or whatever, Harkness, who I'm sure we haven't seen the last of her.
Agatha all along.
And then, you know, cut to Falcon, Winter Soldier. You have the Bradleys. You have, you know, Valentina. You have U.S. Agent.
U.S. Agent.
And then in this Loki, you know, you have Sylvie. She's going to be out there. You have, God.
You have
Jonathan Majors.
I mean,
you have Harrison Ford. You have
Harrison Ford.
Owen Wilson. What the fuck?
Oh my gosh!
Why
dude.
did I say that?
You just gave Owen Wilson a huge bump.
Yeah. Well, anyways, point is, and there's Black Widow, so you have like three new characters plus the Fixer guy. So all this is to say is they're throwing a lot at you, and they're gonna probably use them all, you know. And so it does feel like there's a lot getting packed in. Especially now they're opening up the can of worms of multiverse shit.
Yeah, which could be good, but also could be just a lot.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't know. I'm both like excited and whatever. But before we jump off, you know, let's talk about this show a little bit. I really liked this show. There's a lot of really cool parallels. You know, even as I've bashed Black Widow or whatever, But there's a lot of really cool parallels between Black Widow and its theme of free will, and then this show as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's going to be something that they're going to be playing with, which is an interesting and fun choice, I think.
Yeah. I think it'll be fun. I'm looking very much forward to multiverse stuff. I'm in. I kind of fell out of Marvel around Civil War. I didn't watch Civil War, so maybe that was my mistake then. But besides,
You didn't watch Civil War?
No, I mean I've seen it like when it came out though.
Oh, gotcha.
Whenever that was, that's like when I kind of like got bored of these movies. But I'm in.
I love a good brother against brother type shiz.
But I'm all in and been in for a while, and I'm here for the ride. And I'm not. They're not still to me. Like I think I'm so invested, so many movies watched that like I just popcorn throw it. I'm gonna throw it in my mouth and throw the movies at me simultaneously, as much as you can. It's a fun ride, and I love that the web gets deeper and deeper, and that I've been here and I watched them all. It means I can, in theory, hopefully take it all and understand it.
Yeah. It is funny though, because it's definitely like getting to a point where it's like you do kind of need to know. Like you need to have watched the stuff. And it's like they kind of need to make the choice to like let that happen. Which I think they will. You know.
Well, with that said, I think that's why Black Widow was a good kind of movie in a way, as long as it can get people's attention, because that movie could just exist pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, reasonably so. It's always benefited by having more knowledge, but it's also like, yeah, sure,
yeah,
you can watch that on its own. But it is like a little bit more impactful, and I just like.
I mean, can you imagine like I don't know, 7-year-old kid just fucking loves Spider-Man, so he watches Spider-Man movies. That's it. You know, like. I don't think they'll care because I just want to see Spider-Man do things, but at the same time, like that's, I don't know, you know, is that going to work? I can't imagine what it's like to be a kid. I mean, maybe you just get them young and then they flesh out the movies from there. But that's just a thought I just had. I don't know.
I'm trying to think about like what it would look like if you just watched Spider-Man in movies. I mean, obviously, you'd have the Raimi trilogy that you would be like both excited and disappointed about because it doesn't continue. And that's just like also one of the drawbacks of having live action movies is we don't get to see any more Iron Man stories. Not that I necessarily need them, but it's like, I mean, eventually there'll come a day where they do another Iron Man, but I think that's pretty far off, to be honest.
Yeah, they'll introduce us like an offshoot Iron Man, like his daughter, or there's some other.
Well, they've got Ironheart coming up.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is the offshoot, but it's also like the drawback of this like interconnected universe is that, like, there's no more Iron Man, you know, or there's no more Captain America, Steve Rogers. Again, not that I'm not excited for Sam Wilson, but it's like now we move on.
Well, the thing is, like, the reality we watched is the one reality that does succeed, killing Thanos. So.
Oh, that's what you were saying earlier.
I mean, I guess it doesn't make any difference if there's different variations that are allowed to play out years before, moments before, decades, eons before. So I guess it differentiates there. So maybe that's not an issue anymore.
Huh.
I was going somewhere with that, but yeah.
But then there's also so many different variations on even the Infinity Stones, like having them be
paperweights.
Much more low stakes when that comes.
Yeah. It's like a symbolic, like, that's over kind of thing.
We've moved on.
Yeah.
Don't worry about those anymore.
I do want to talk more about Harrison Ford. I mean, Mobius. I mean, Owen Wilson's performance. I loved him. He was great. I like Owen Wilson a lot, actually. And he was still Owen Wilson, but he played the kind of clerky, bureaucratic guy pretty well. and with his Owen Wilson spice. So I enjoyed it a lot. I think he was a good shining moment. I mean, him and Tom Hiddleston were huge strengths.
Oh my gosh, especially early. I mean, their chemistry, especially in those first 2 episodes, fucking so great.
And we get to watch it all over again. Them start from zero and become best buds with that twist ending.
I know, dude. I think it's a really interesting, like, the moral choice that this show led to continue to be the villain. Like, to continue to be the villain or let a greater villain in. You know, it's like you, Sylvie, and Loki, you guys can be the bad guys and run the TVA. And you'll be the villain, but you'll keep things in order. Or you can kill me, kill the big villain who's keeping everything in order, and let an even greater villain in. Like, so good.
I mean, this show is so pivotal, I think, to the future of the whole Marvel thing. And it's getting a season 2, which is crazy. Like,
well, and like, I think I saw that's where this was affected the most by COVID, where it was initially it was 1 season, but then they split it because of COVID.
Oh, so this is probably the stuff they got ready, kind of, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's what I read somewhere.
Okay,
but it's like, especially for a show about like manipulation and lies and double crossing, to get to the end and find the secrets do have answers, and that we got to have those answers, and then like that it was like true, maybe. It was great stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially
when he said we're all villains here. Like, that's what we're fucking, don't you see?
Oh yeah. There's so many good moments, and his performance was Jonathan Majors' performance was so good at being like, I don't know, the eccentricness was spot on, but then he could bring it back down. And that range was really great for that scene, and just the exposition and kind of like making you question the stakes or the seriousness of him. I trusted him, but it obviously read for me to read Sylvie's skepticism.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which made sense. I mean, I'm just very excited about his performance in this, and then his future performances as, I assume, the various different variations of himself, which is like, I don't know, I was just thinking about that whenever I was watching this, and like, not only to create like sort of an iconic villain in just this one like last little bit, but then also to give to lay the groundwork for your Thanos. Because I mean, imagine, like, think about all the people who were like Josh Brolin's Thanos. He had points and stuff like that. Blah blah blah. You know, and to go ahead and build that. I don't know. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I think this made a lot of people excited for what the future was. You know, WandaVision, whatever, it's still good. I'm not saying whatever, but in terms of a vision, a future. But then obviously Falcon Soldier and Black Widow didn't instill the most optimism on the future of the franchise. But I think this is a big piece of that, and that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially I think too, because they did such a good job with the trailer. You know, I know that that's like a weird thing to say, maybe, but they did such a good job with the trailer, because like a lot of the moments that got us excited in the trailer were like throwaway jokes and not really like, it was like, you know, like the President Loki thing we thought was going to be a bigger deal. Even the DB Cooper, that was like sort of like the climax of like one of the original trailers, you know. It was just like a throwaway joke in the first episode. A lot of the stuff that was like in the trailer as like, hey, get excited about this fucking crazy shit here, bud. You know?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a part of the show at all, really. Which was fucking great.
Oh, yeah. It's I like it more after talking about it. I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot, obviously, but talking about it, it's like, yeah, it's good. I think what my biggest revelation this has me excited. I'm really excited for what's coming up. So.
Hell yeah.
And that's even with me, like, even if it wasn't, I would just keep watching these things anyways. So it's just, like, extra sweet. I don't know. I mean, if I could rank it, I'd give it, like, 4 crocodiles out of 5, I guess.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm gonna give it I'll give it 4.5 Kang apples. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. Doctor Strange, baby. I'll give it 4.5 apples out of 5.
Nice.
Because I really, it hit my shit good. Punched me in the face, made me feel nice.
Punched your shit good.
It got me in a good spot.
Nice.
What have you been watching?
I did some traveling, and on the way to my destination, I watched Chicken Run because it's the perfect little length movie for a quicker flight. And I didn't realize how like iconic a lot of the lines were to me. I don't know if they are generally, but like, I don't know. There's just like a lot of lines or like way they yell things that I've emulated. And like that, whatever. And when I say stuff,
doesn't Owen Wilson play the main chicken in Chicken Run?
No, America's Sweetheart Mel Gibson does, and Australia. We get to share him. Yeah, he's the chicken. But it's a sweet little movie, and I guess I don't realize how much I must have watched it when I was a kid, because like there's so many deep things, and it's like I say that, like I yell that like stupidly or and as jokes all the time like that, and I hadn't made that connection in a long time. And then on the way back, I watched Caddyshack, which was excellent. I love that, and I've been getting into golf. So
is that the first time you've seen Caddyshack?
I saw it as a kid. It just didn't mean anything to me then. So pretty much my first time watching it, and it's good, and it has a lot of subtle humor that you don't see as much in American stuff, I feel. So I love that.
Yeah, that's that 70s 80s stuff where it's like very much a carryover and inspired by Monty Python. You can definitely trace that, and it's like the Chicago inspired by the Monty Python stuff, where it's like that subtle little humor, and then we sort of like develop, you can trace it back. It's definitely Caddyshack and Animal House's fault, where you see like Bluto or you see any of those characters that stand out. And if you watch Animal House again, like Bluto is not in it nearly as much as maybe pop culture would make you think he was.
Yeah. That's one I need to watch still. But I'll watch it after this. My favorite scene was the old man having the golf game of his life, just lights out. I knew he was gonna die, but it's just like even that, it's just it was a fun little sequence.
Yeah.
What have you?
Maybe we can talk about that in Animal House.
Sure.
Next week or something.
Yeah. What have you been watching?
Pair them up together. Classic. I watched Road to Perdition.
Oh.
And then I sort of stayed in the similar time era, and I watched the new movie by Steven Soderbergh, No Sudden Moves, with Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro, Kieran Culkin, bunch of other people.
All right.
And that was interesting. That's a HBO Max release, and that was a good one.
Okay. You recommend it?
I do recommend No Sudden Moves. It does get like sort of preachy at the end, but also it's still fun.
All right. Yeah, I've seen Road to Perdition. I enjoyed that. It's like a weird movie that no one knows about, almost, in a way.
Yeah, I think he got a Best Actor nom for it, though.
Really? Maybe that's like...
I think.
Because I think it comes off as like a kind of blockbuster, fun movie anyone could enjoy, but maybe it kind of like went under the radar as kind of a more artsy film or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the middle of both of those things, because there is that like sort of like fun montage of him with his son, not to give away too much or whatever, but it is just like, it's just funny where it's like, huh. It's just like a kind of out of place, but also like makes sense and is kind of sweet.
Yeah. It's a big recommend, I'd say. Not a big recommend, but
yeah.
But
I would say it's a medium recommend.
Yeah.
I would definitely medium recommend it.
I think I'm doing a huge disservice recommending this book, and I already did in this podcast.
What, Dark Matter?
dark matter. I went into it blind, so you can live vicariously through me being blind in it. But it's so good. It's so fun.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm ready for it.
All right.
Well, cool. Hit us up on Twitter at the Stinky Podcast and tell us what you think we should watch next. Tell us how you feel about the Marvel Universe. Are you tired of it? Are you ready for it? Or how you feel? What you want? What's your jazz? Have you seen Crimson Peak? Have you seen Tom Hiddleston do other stuff? Do British actors age? Or do they just all of a sudden become old men?
Probably that.
The answers to these questions later.
Yeah.
As they say
at the TVA, can you do a Miss Minutes impersonation?
Well, hi, y'all.
that's a hello.
That was my Miss Minutes. Well, hello, y'all. Does she say hello?
I don't know. I was just
hello, y'all.
All right.
I'm pretty sure she says y'all.
Yeah, she says y'all all the time.
Hi, as they say at the TVA. I'll get on back to your sacred timeline, or I'll diminish you.
That's perfect. Bye.